Welcome to Hero Villains. Who do you think would win, Onslaught versus Nekron? In the vast multiverse, there are entities that represent life, and there are entities that represent death. These are two beings who do not merely bring death, but redefine the very concept of the end itself. On one side stands Onslaught, the psychic embodiment of dark thought, the product of the most insane dream born from the greatest mind, a being who absorbed Franklin Richards and X-Man and came within moments of erasing the entirety of Marvel reality. On the other side stands Nekron, the Lord of the Realm of the Dead, the embodiment of darkness that existed before life itself, the ruler of a lightless hell, and the one who personally destroyed the entity, the embodiment of life itself. Onslaught brings destruction from within, a psychic nightmare forged from hatred and power that transcends divine limits. Nekron brings the eternal silence of nothingness, the primordial death that existed before the birth of the universe. When psychic wrath clashes with absolute darkness, who will hold the key to the ultimate ending? Here. Onslaught is an immensely powerful psychic entity formed from the hatred, resentment, and deepest negative emotions that existed within the minds of both Professor X and Magneto. He came into existence when the minds of the two most powerful mutants in the world temporarily merged into one, creating a new consciousness that surpassed the limits of any individual. As the fusion of Charles Xavier's genius intellect and Magneto's indomitable will, Onslaught inherited the full range of their astonishing mutant abilities. His power continued to grow to unimaginable levels after he absorbed Franklin Richards and Nate Gray, two Omega-level mutants possessing nearly limitless potential. Assimilating the immense energy of these two beings elevated Onslaught to an entirely new tier, transforming him into one of the most dangerous entities in existence. At the height of the Onslaught crisis, he simultaneously confronted the combined forces of Earth's greatest heroes, including the Avengers, Fantastic Four, and X-Men. The scale of Onslaught's power was so vast that he could create a second sun and demonstrate physical strength comparable to Hulk in a state completely unrestricted by Bruce Banner. His mere presence was enough to cause severe disturbances on a global scale. Onslaught's most remarkable ability lies in his capacity to draw upon an almost limitless source of psychic energy from the astral plane. He can manipulate matter and energy at will, turning concepts that seem intangible into tangible reality. Onslaught can establish psychic links to project consciousness in astral form, while simultaneously channeling psychic energy into matter to create structures or entities shaped directly from his own ideas and imagination. In addition, he can generate extraordinarily durable psychic armor to protect himself against both physical and mental attack. Onslaught can even pull the astral projections of other telepaths into the physical world, forcing them to confront his power directly. Onslaught's telepathic abilities also reach an extraordinary level, allowing him to read residual thought imprints left behind on objects that others have touched. He can also perceive distortions within the fabric of space itself, detecting dimensional fractures and reality anomalies that most beings are incapable of recognizing. Through the combination of overwhelming physical power, cosmic energy, and psychic dominance, Onslaught has become the embodiment of a living catastrophe capable of threatening an entire world and even greater layers of reality. Onslaught possesses telepathic abilities of an exceptional caliber. He can read thoughts, sense emotions, and project his will directly into the minds of others across immense distances with virtually no meaningful resistance. Even the most powerful telepaths in the Marvel Universe would struggle to defend themselves against the mental intrusion of this entity. Onslaught's psychic awareness extends across a vast range, enabling him to gather information, track targets, and influence others with nothing more than a single thought. Those affected by his powers do not merely see false images, but also experience sounds, emotions, and sensations as though the events were genuinely taking place. This makes it extremely difficult for victims to distinguish reality from illusion, leaving them far more vulnerable to manipulation. Onslaught can also conceal himself or others from the perception of those around them. Through his superior psychic abilities, he can cause his presence to vanish entirely from an opponent's awareness. In addition, addition, he can alter the way others perceive him, creating flawless mental disguises. Not only his outward appearance, but also his clothing, form, and other identifying features can be transformed within the observer's perception, making the task of determining his true identity nearly impossible. Onslaught's mind control abilities also operate on a level that far surpasses that of most other telepaths. Through sheer concentration, Onslaught can impose his will upon others, forcing them to act according to his desire. This power is so overwhelming that it can shut down the mental functions of multiple individuals simultaneously, leaving them in a completely motionless state as though time itself had stopped flowing within their mind. In fact, Onslaught is one of the very few entities ever capable of controlling Hulk while he was calm, despite the Green Goliath's well-known resistance to psychic manipulation. His ability to affect memory is equally dangerous. Onslaught can erase specific memories, distort a person's perception of the past, or induce large-scale amnesia in an individual or even an entire group. In more severe cases, he can drive victims into a state of complete mental paralysis, stripping them of the ability to think, react, or perceive reality. Beyond his offensive capabilities, Onslaught also possesses immensely powerful psychic defenses. He can construct mental barriers that are nearly impossible to penetrate, protecting either himself or individuals of his choosing. These defenses are powerful enough to block intrusion from Omega-level telepaths, safeguarding both conscious and subconscious thought from any attempt at probing or manipulation. As a result, Onslaught is not only a master of mental control, but also an almost impregnable psychic fortress, making him one of the most terrifying telepathic entities ever to exist. He can unleash blasts of psychic energy that cause no physical damage, yet directly affect the minds of their victims, inflicting intense pain or unconsciousness and even killing opponents outright. Even before reaching his complete evolution, his psychic attacks were capable of affecting Juggernaut, despite the fact that Juggernaut was wearing a helmet designed to protect him from extremely powerful psychic abilities. The attacks slowed him down long enough for Onslaught to land successful strikes against him. The power of Onslaught possesses both a psychic and physiological nature. He can lift, move, and alter objects at will. Onslaught can launch metal at unprecedented speeds and apply immense pressure to metallic substances to melt and reshape them. He can manipulate iron-rich blood flowing to the brain to cause aneurysms or unconsciousness, redirect blood flow through the brain to alter thoughts and perceptions, or completely empty a person's mind. He can make a person levitate or control their actions by manipulating the iron within their blood. He is capable of extracting all iron from a person's bloodstream through their skin, controlling iron particles in the atmosphere, altering Earth's magnetic field which extends into space as the magnetosphere, and enhancing his own strength to superhuman levels. Heat and infrared radiation are part of the electromagnetic spectrum, which also includes visible light, radio waves, ultraviolet rays, gamma rays, and X-rays. Onslaught can project any of these forms of energy. He can maintain complete control over a planet's electromagnetic field and manipulate it according to his will. He has also shattered a fire cage created by Human Torch, although it remains unclear whether he simply expanded his personal force field or used an entirely different ability. Onslaught can effortlessly lift objects weighing well over 100 tons without relying on psychic powers, magnetism, telekinesis, or reality-altering abilities to enhance his strength. Even when using those powers to further augment himself, the upper limit of Onslaught's strength remains beyond imagination. Before reaching his complete evolution, he demonstrated enough power to overwhelm Juggernaut at his peak. A single punch was powerful enough to knock Juggernaut unconscious and send him flying from Canada to New Jersey. He then used his claws to easily pierce Juggernaut and tear Kane's Sidorak gem from his body. At the height of his physical power, after capturing the entire hero team by gradually unleashing more of his strength, Onslaught was able to match an extremely enraged Hulk without Banner, the only being possessing enough raw power to surpass Onslaught's strength and destroy his armor. As a result, despite displaying extraordinary power, Onslaught was ultimately overwhelmed once Hulk's rage reached its absolute peak. I truly hope you will subscribe to the channel. It would help us tremendously, and you are absolutely amazing. Thank you very much. Now let us talk about Nekron. Nekron is something far more primordial and terrifying. He is not a god of death like Hades or Thanatos. He is not an entity born from belief or worship. Nekron is the embodiment of the very concept of death itself as a primordial cosmic force. He existed before there was light, before there was life, before there was even time. There was a moment before the universe was born. There was no matter, no energy, and no light. There was only an endless darkness, silent and empty. That was the kingdom of Nekron. He ruled within that void, within the absolute silence of non-existence. But then, an intrusion occurred. The first light of creation appeared, bringing life with it. And from that life, an opposing entity was born. The entity, the embodiment of life itself within the DC universe. To Nekron, life is noise, a stain, a disruption of the eternal order of darkness, and he swore to extinguish it. Nekron rules the realm, a dimension beyond all realities, where the souls of the dead await release. He is not a conqueror. He has no ambition to rule. His only goal is to restore the universe to its original state, absolute nothingness, without life and without light. To achieve this, he created the Black Lantern Corps, an army composed of corpses resurrected by black rings. These undead servants carry the memories and emotions of the deceased, spreading fear and absorbing the emotional energy of the living. During the Blackest Night event, Nekron revealed the true extent of his power. He did not merely kill, he manipulated emotion itself, the force that connects life to reality. Using his scythe, he severed the connection between the entity and Earth, nearly extinguishing all life throughout the multiverse. He is the nightmare feared even by the Green Lanterns, beings who possess the strongest willpower in the universe. He is the ultimate answer to all existence, the silence of the grave. Nekron possesses absolute authority over the souls of the dead. He can summon anyone who has ever died, from an unnamed soldier to the greatest heroes such as Superman, Martian Manhunter, or Aquaman, and transform them into Black Lanterns who serve his will. These Black Lanterns do not merely possess the powers they had in life, but also retain their memories and their ability to manipulate emotions, making them perfect psychological weapons. He can drain emotional energy, the very life force of all living beings, with nothing more than a thought. Nekron cannot be killed. It is as simple as that. He is the embodiment of death itself. How can you kill death? In every confrontation, physical and energy-based attacks seem to pass through him as though they were passing through mist. He exists outside the cycle of life and death. Even when defeated and forced back into the realm of the dead, he is always there, waiting. Because as long as life exists, death will continue to exist as its opposite. And Nekron is that opposite. His only weakness is his connection to the pure light of life, specifically the White Lantern light, the energy of the entity itself. Only the power of the most primordial form of life can repel his darkness. Nekron's weapon is a colossal scythe that does far more than simply cut flesh. It severs the connection between soul and body, between life and reality. He used this very scythe to strike the entity, the embodiment of all life throughout the DC universe, and nearly succeeded in killing it. That act demonstrated that Nekron's power is not limited to slaying mortals. He can destroy even the highest tier cosmic entities. He can manifest anywhere there is death and anywhere there is darkness. Nekron can manipulate darkness as though it were a living entity. He can create portals through shadows, turning the shadows of his enemies into weapons that bind and kill them. He can expand his realm of the dead to engulf entire planets in eternal darkness where no light can survive. He does not merely destroy the body, he destroys hope, willpower, and love, the very emotions that form the foundation of life. And now let us move on to the direct comparison and battle analysis. This is a battle between two forces of destruction. No matter how terrifying Onslaught's power may be, it still has a clear origin. It is the fusion of the minds of Xavier and Magneto, later amplified by the energy of Franklin Richards. This means that, at its core, Onslaught is a psychic entity forged from the energies of life and consciousness. Nekron is the opposite. He does not come from life. He is the negation of life. He existed before consciousness, before there was any mind capable of creating an onslaught. This is Nekron's fundamental advantage. You cannot use the power of life and consciousness against the embodiment of their absence unless that power reaches an absolute level that transcends all laws. Onslaught's greatest weapon is psychic assault. He can crush consciousness, spread fear, and manipulate minds. But does Nekron possess a mind that can be manipulated? Nekron has no emotions. He has no fear, no ambition, and no desires. He is not a being driven by complex thoughts. He is a force with a single purpose. A psychic attack directed at Nekron would be like trying to use thought itself to erase darkness. It might create disturbances, but it cannot destroy the essence of darkness. On the other hand, every being that Onslaught kills and every soul he absorbs only further strengthens Nekron's realm. And then, there is Onslaught's reality warping power. He can create a dimension where he is God, where the laws of physics no longer hold meaning. Could he create a reality where death does not exist? That is certainly a possibility. However, Nekron's history has shown that he has repeatedly transcended the barriers of reality itself. His realm of the dead is not part of the universe. It is a separate reality that exists beyond all reality. When Nekron enters a battlefield, he brings the realm of the dead with him. Wherever he stands becomes a land of death, where light and life are suffocated. Onslaught may bend reality, but Nekron would continuously negate that distortion through his mere presence, forcing the surrounding space back toward its primordial state of nothingness. Onslaught is a tireless engine of destruction. Nekron is absolute immortality. Onslaught would unleash every attack in his arsenal. He would tear apart space itself, bombard Nekron with psychic energy, and attempt to erase him from reality. He might even try to absorb Nekron's energy. That would be a fatal mistake. Nekron possesses no living energy to absorb. His power is anti-life. It is nothingness itself. Attempting to absorb Nekron would be like trying to drink an empty ocean dry. It would poison Onslaught from within. As an entity born from the human mind, Onslaught still carries fragments of Xavier and Magneto within him. He still possesses an ego, a sense of self, and a consciousness. That consciousness is his weakness. As the Lord of Death, Nekron can reach the very soul fragments that anchor Onslaught to reality. He can whisper to the death sleeping within Onslaught and awaken the truth that, in the end, Onslaught is nothing more than a collection of damaged and dying consciousnesses. Magneto had been erased, and Xavier had already lost a portion of his soul. Nekron could use his scythe to sever the connection between those fragments of consciousness, releasing them into the realm of the dead and causing Onslaught to collapse from within. This is a battle in which Onslaught, despite all of his incredible power, would face an opponent he cannot defeat through strength alone. Onslaught is the ultimate manifestation of destruction born from life. He is the worst psychic nightmare imaginable. But Nekron is not a nightmare. He is the cold reality waiting when the nightmare ends. Onslaught can destroy planets, erase gods, and bend reality itself, but he cannot kill death. Every act of destruction committed by Onslaught, every life shattered in his wake, would not weaken Nekron. It would only make him stronger. The longer Onslaught fights, the more death and destruction he spreads, and the more Nekron's kingdom expands. The battle would end not with a massive explosion, but with a silent unraveling after an endless conflict. When Onslaught has unleashed everything he possesses, distorted every law of physics, and yet still sees Nekron standing there untouched within his black cloak of nothingness, the fractured minds within Onslaught would begin to doubt. Fear, the very emotion he has inflicted upon countless others, would for the first time creep into his own being. Not fear of destruction, but fear of absolute oblivion. And in that moment of weakness, Nekron would raise his scythe not to strike Onslaught's energy form, but to sever the fragile connection between the fragments of consciousness belonging to Xavier, Magneto, and Franklin Richards that together make up Onslaught. Onslaught is the storm of the mind. Nekron is the silence that follows the storm. And within that silence, Nekron is the victor. And that is our analysis of the battle between the ultimate psychic entity and the embodiment of death itself. Could Onslaught be wise enough to realize that he cannot defeat Nekron through power alone, and instead seek to merge with him, becoming a life-destruction entity that transcends all definitions? Let us know your thoughts by commenting below. If you enjoy these top-notch analyses of cosmic entities, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the next fateful battles. And remember to follow us. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again in the next cosmic battles.